You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Opposite Worlds After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Opposite Worlds After Show.
That's funny.
That's great. Hey guys, it's Mikey Benzaia here. James Wiley can't be with us this week, but I have a special guest with us. Here with me from Opposite Worlds is...
Angela Lima.
Thank you, Angela, for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, it's great. So James couldn't be here, so he sent the next best thing.
All right.
So we got a chance. We checked out an episode last night, and we checked out tonight's episode. So we're going to just give you a little recap on Opposite Worlds on the SyFy Network. And who better to do that with than someone from the show? Angela, I'm sorry you had to be here on these terms, but we are happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So we checked it out. We had Angela went against, if you guys caught up, Angela went against Frank in the latest episode that you were at, which...
I went against the beast.
I was like, all right, first of all, I want to say, Angela, you have some fire. I was talking to you before. You are like the girl you can hang out with, but is still beautiful, but she can definitely hold her own. So I felt bad at first with Frank, but now I'm like, you know what? She gave Frank a fight. I think you can definitely...
I wanted to give him more of a fight, but it was over so quickly. There was a couple things that I would have done differently if I could do it again, but, it was what it was. But, yeah, he's a big guy. He's a beast, crazy. But yeah, I wanted to go in there fighting, and
that competition, it was a little tough. It was it wasn't really leave room to strategize or to really.
Yeah, well, actually, we were walked through for like a safety precaution. They wanted to show us the course and everything, and they had it set up differently when they did that. So the time that I went through and I kind of ran to the right, there was like a complete opening there. Oh, so wow. I did have a little bit of a strategy in my head, but then it just was different when I got. Yeah, it was totally different when I got there. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I went to the right. I was going to go left, and anyway, I went to the right, and there's usually an exit, a little opening there, and there wasn't. So it just got, one of those things.
It's cool to hear the inside information, too, because when you watch it on TV, we don't get to see that. We don't get to see where your strategy's live. We just see what the camera shows us.
Right.
So it's pretty interesting. But then, actually, on the episode last night, Frank was asked about, your competition, and Frank basically told him, I felt bad. I don't know why they put Angela up. They should have put one of the guys up.
I agree.
Do you feel like that should have been a strategic, I mean, obviously you're going to say that, but really, I think that would have been smarter competition-wise.
I do agree. I mean, I didn't want to be in there. I'd already been in a duel, I felt like I'd already, yeah, exactly, for at least for a little while. Yeah. So it was somebody else to, time for them to take a turn and get in there, So, yeah, that wasn't my favorite that they chose that, but I actually felt like they were going to be picking on me every single week. So that's why I chose to go against Frank, because I thought, that's the only way that I'll be able to get them off my back.
That's true. To kind of prove yourself now, listen guys, if I go against Frank, let this be the last time I'm thrown in.
Not only that, but it would have just changed the game entirely. If he got out, which I had little chance, but if it did, it was a big payoff. He would have gone out, it would have totally changed the game. The other team would not have been as strong at all, and I would have been valuable, also in America's eyes. So they would have had to make me the protected. I wanted to be the protected every week, because I was like, hey guys, I did my thing, whatever. Yeah. But they just, scurried around it. So
if that, and I think you feel the same way, if that competition would have went the other route, you would have been set down. That would have been good.
Well, and I found out that I would have been voted the most popular in the Twitter popularity index that week. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I would have gotten some kind of surprise, some reward or whatever. It would have been amazing. So unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Well, I felt bad, and James, I know James felt, he was tweeting for you nonstop, so he had your back. So I know Wiley had your back.
Cool.
So now this is the thing. Now this episode, I know you guys can relate. This is where I was blown away, and I'm like, finally we got a twist. So we have, I think it's 6-4, and I'm looking at these teams and I'm like, so uneven.
Yeah.
And then Luke tells us that with these new competitions, we're going to have, you know, some different things going on. And that's why this week I'm excited to speak about it. But before we get to that, I want to ask you personally, running through the past, is it possible to sprain your ankle like that? Because I didn't know if that was something that JR just happened, you know, he's clumsy, or is it really that dangerous?
Well, I have to tell you, I think that was the second time JR fell. And actually, I think one or two of us slipped as well. I think I slipped one time too. But he actually fell one other time. Those steps were not even. You know, it was kind of like rock formations that they made in there. They weren't really proper steps. So sometimes if you had a little mud on your foot, or even when you're just going fast, like you'd slip a little bit. And so, yeah, I guess that happened. And yeah, it kind of surprised me. I thought it was going to be in the competition that happened, but too bad for him. Although, you know, it worked out for him because he got to be the protected again.
I was going to say, it kind of put him on the safe route. It seems to be in this show, if you get hurt, besides Charles, which was terrible, but if you get hurt, you kind of get a little sympathy from your team.
On our team has a different strategy with making someone the protected than the other team. I saw that they were rewarding people for good, you know, behavior or performance or whatever, and so I would have been, you know, put in there as the protected. Which I feel like, you know,
with my show, it's like if you do well, you get rewarded. Not if, I mean, if you slip and fall, which is bad, but you're not really proving anything to the team. Why keep you around?
Right, and you know what it is? It's really part of the alliance, the JR and the two girls alliance. They'll just say or do anything to make those three, I think, be the last ones on Epoch. So
now, was that alliance, while you were there, was that alliance so strong, or did that just come out in this last episode?
So I didn't know really about the JR and Lauren one, that they had talked the first night, but you could kind of like, you know, they said something about, oh, we both have choking stories, and like, that's my twin, something like that. But the Sam and Lauren one was pretty, you know, obvious. You know, I'm sure they've had a conversation about it at some point. But they're just like two peas in a pod, you know, really similar personalities and just like always together and everything. So you're like, okay, that's one to watch out for, you know?
So you knew. See, I feel like, speaking to Rachel last week, I feel like you guys, if you were on the same team, you guys probably would have clicked. Because she's not a tough chick, but she can hold her own, and she's a competitive girl.
Absolutely.
You guys probably would have had an alliance.
Well, everybody has, you know, different strengths, and I feel like mine would have been balance and puzzles and, you know, some kind of agility around certain things, like maybe even the one, you know, the episode tonight with that kind of thing. So I almost thought too, like if I'm being brought into some kind of competition like this, obviously they must have challenges like that to even, you know, the score, and kind of have somebody who's, you know, 105 pounds and like 5'4" be able to really, you know, be able to fight. So that didn't happen until later. It seems like now they have the puzzles and all this stuff. I'm like, what happened? You know, what about when I was there?
Angela's gone. Let's do it. Let's bring out the games. But you bring up the challenges. Now, last night we saw the challenge, which was ridiculous. That I guess what they had to do was there was like 15 tons of horse manure, and they had to find these tubes, and then they had to put this puzzle together, and then put down this plunger, which makes this whole big explosion. Is that something that you feel like if you were there, would you have been, you know, would that be up your alley? Would you?
I mean, anybody can dig in manure, you know what I mean? That was just like,
who doesn't dig in manure?
That was just digging in dirt, you know what I mean, to find some pieces. And so I would have been, I mean, I was watching them, I feel like I would have been like tearing at that. But really it was about the puzzle, you know, it was really about putting those together, and I think I definitely would have been good at that. I was watching it like, oh man, you know?
It's tough. I know when at the end of mine, I was like, I want to do that. I want to be there, but.
Totally.
Yeah, but that was definitely a very cool challenge. And
I'm glad they pulled it out.
Yeah, they definitely pulled it. And the best was JR was just hopping around. Like, I'm like, you know, I have respect for him because even though he was hurt, he was still putting forth his effort.
Sure,
and did
of course.
Good job.
Yeah.
So it was good. And then we get the twist, which, you know, was really brought this whole season back. Because I was starting to be honest, and I think James felt the same way. We were starting to, like, not lose interest, but we were like, what's going on?
Everyone was. Even us in the cave were like, really? You know, we're just doing the same thing over and over again. Like, the future can't get that much more interesting. The team over there, and we can't get that much more interesting. Like, we're chopping wood, we're making food, we're like, you know,
it's kind of
having a problem with the poo situation. You know, like, everything was just the same.
Can we discuss this? We're on the topic of crap.
It was so bad.
Is it really that bad? Did you have to, like...
Oh, my God. So bad.
In, like, a corner? I don't want to get all details.
They think they showed it in one of the episodes. There's two holes, really. So we like made a men's and a women's. One of them was kind of just like a whole hole. And so we're like, okay, that's the guys. The other one had like these uneven little rock formations or whatever around it. So everyone would have to like put their foot on this, put their foot on that, like try to straddle and whatever and aim. The girls would have to aim down the hole. So that was interesting in itself, you know. But then when it came to number two, like everybody was like still trying to squat, trying to this balance and that. And I was like, I'm not having it. Like, it's not working out for me. I cannot, like, I need to relax. You know what I mean?
Did they give you, like, leaves?
No.
I mean,
oh, there was toilet paper.
Okay,
At least there was toilet paper.
At least you got that.
Yeah, but it was like a septic, like, basically hole, like, whatever. So anyways, I was like, Wyatt, I can't do it. You know, like, I went out and took a bucket, went to the back, put, like, an animal skin around me to hide, and just did it. So Wyatt, I was like, we need a bathroom and a bucket. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that stalactite, stalagmite thing.
Wow.
So he built, like, a little thing.
I'm not surprised that he built a bathroom or something.
Oh, he built everything. And so yeah, we had a bucket in the back that we went to, and eventually they moved it inside. And then we just kind of, I mean, all those holes would get backed up all the time.
Oh, my God.
There was flies all in it and everything. So then we just started going in a bucket, and that was actually more comfortable than the holes.
I feel terrible that I just complained today that at McDonald's that the restroom was disgusting. It looked like there was, like, flood in it. I can't even talk because you guys have been through hell and back.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. A porta potty is glorious compared to these conditions.
So that Ventura McDonald's means nothing to you.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
Sorry. I got no sympathy here, guys. No sympathy from Angela. So now we have the twist where Luke tells us that basically the future team, Kronos has to give up a team member. So now how they decide is whoever wins the challenge. Epoch ends up winning, so now they get to choose who they want to take from that team. Yeah. And they end up taking Frank.
Saving grace. Yeah. Amazing.
Do you think that was a smart decision?
Of course. I mean, of course. He's a beast. You know, that's why I was trying to go against him, just hope that luck would be on my side, you know. But absolutely, I feel like whoever has Frank is going to win.
Do you think that, you know, I think that Frank is intelligent on his own right, but do you think that that's going to hold it against him, that he is just a beast? Does he have more to offer if the game comes to, like, a puzzle or, you know?
Yeah, I think he probably does. There might be other people that are better in certain areas, but because some of these things are so much about strength, and it's not just strength. I mean, he's agile, he's fast, he's this and that. I mean, there's so many physical attributes that he does have. In worldly challenges, that's always going to be something to beat. It's actually even strange to me that they chose someone like him, and everybody else is, like, quote, you know, a little bit normal, kind of average type of people.
Yeah, he's on, like, a whole nother level.
He kind of is on a whole nother, and I don't think that they actually really planned that much of a difference, you know,
Jesse's a big dude, too. But Frank's like a house. Yeah, like,
yeah, he's a hoss.
Yeah,
he is a beast. I mean, when he was, like, throwing those tomatoes at us, you know, it was, he was on a minor league baseball team or whatever. Yes, they were like 80 miles per hour.
So
tomatoes.
Basically, Jeter stepping down and Frank stepping in.
It was insane. It was insane. I mean, it was really imbalanced. So no, I think they needed that, and I think it's going to help them out.
I think so. I think that it was a smart decision, and I think that. I mean, who wouldn't have done that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then choosing the future. Obviously, he's like, are you guys going to choose the future? No, we're going to stay here in the past and shit in a hole. Like, yeah, they're going to choose the future.
Yeah, and honestly, that was so lucky for Frank because he's the one out of that team that would have hated it the most.
Oh, really?
That guy spent like 2 hours in the shower. Like, he was shave his legs, shave his arms. Yeah, he would, like, do his little eyebrows.
Well,
like, he was definitely Metro and, like, OCD and clean and whatever, but we'd be like, okay, we just went to the bathroom, there's Frank. Then I went to the bathroom, there's still Frank in there shaving his legs. Like, every single time we go in there, he's, like, shaving something or doing this and that. Like, seriously, 2 hours in that bathroom.
I know he's from New York, and sometimes we can be a little clean, a little OCD, but he, like, cleans his sneakers every night. Yeah. That's crazy. But yeah, so he would not have survived.
It's kind of funny. I kind of relate, actually. You know, I don't think he's such a horrible guy. He's just a beast. You know.
But that was a smart decision on their part.
Yeah.
So now, you know, so basically what happens is they have to switch worlds. So Frank gets to stay in the future, and the rest of the guys have to switch over to the past, and the past has to come over to the future. So I think, you know, it gave them a chance to kind of, you know, we always say that the grass is always green on the other side.
Yeah.
They got to switch over, and now they realize what you guys went through for, what, 20-something days?
Yeah, 21 days. I think they had no idea. I mean, it's so funny when Jesse came over there and they had to cook the fish and this and that. I think he was really excited about being over there, and he was like, you know, you guys should just stop focusing on trying to get to the future. Just make this a home, you know?
Easy to say, Jesse.
Just make this a home. Just get comfortable, you know, make things that, and we were like, what? I was like, what do you think we've been doing, you know? And like, they don't know. Like, it was so funny. He went over this piece of wood, and he was like, you know, I said, please chop, you know, let's chop that wood, da-da-da. And he's like, are you sure you want to chop this? Couldn't it be used for something else? This won't burn, you know? And we're, you know, little did he know we call it dragon wood. That's what Wyatt actually called it, because it burned so fast. I think it was like possibly decorative, and they treated it with something, and it would just light up. That's what we used for kindling. When we couldn't get the fire going because those logs would be wet, we'd put a little bit of that in there to actually kind of keep it going. So it's just really funny. But yeah, no, it was interesting to see. It was actually really good. It felt good to see the people and how they reacted, Team Kronos being on the other side and actually having to deal with what we had to deal with. And, you know, Danielle was crying and Lisette was like, oh my God, this sucks.
Yeah,
and it's
Lisette
like,
was not happy.
Yeah, Danielle was crying, you know?
Well, I mean, you know what, Jeffrey, we're not surprised when you cry. Supposedly it's fake. But now Danielle has cried a couple times, and she's like my strong girl. I was like, but now all of a sudden she's shedding some tears. I don't know. I was a little...
you said that to me. You thought she was really strong. And I'm not saying she's not strong, but she did cry the first time that we ever had a challenge as well. Okay. I think the tasers kind of freaked her out. And so she was just crying before we even started the challenge, and I was like, what? Why is she crying right now? You know, like, it's a bit early. It's the first night, and you're already crying, and you're not even, you know, about to go up or whatever. It was just like, okay, you know.
So that's the stuff we don't get to see, and I wish I could see, because I think my opinion on a couple of the players would be different.
I think so too. No, there's a lot. There's a lot you don't get to see. I mean, they tape all the time, and then to actually watch the show, it was really interesting, like showing what they chose to show and what they didn't, you know.
Do you like how they portrayed you? Did you feel like you were in a good light?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, definitely did portray me in a good light, and I think that I gave them, you know, good things to go on or whatever. I think a couple things, they omitted things, you know, there's like certain things about people's personality, like Sam's got the hugest personality. She's extremely talkative, and you don't see that very much, so that's interesting. But I think actually they kind of portrayed me as pretty true to myself. I just didn't think that they would have me on that much. As much as they did, because like it's funny, they do interviews and some people would be talking to them like Jesse or Frank or, you know, even people in our group for like an hour. It seemed like 45 minutes, and then I'd go and talk to them and it would be like 15 minutes, and they're like, all right, thanks. I'm like, oh, okay, you know.
Well, it's funny because when we first started watching, you know, there was like 3 blondes on your team, and I was just like, I know who Angela is because she's the brunette. I was like, everyone else, until we start dwindling away at people, I don't really know. It's one of the blondes. But but I knew right off the bat, I was like, Angela's good.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you.
And then we spoke to Wyatt last week, and he was like, you're going to love Angela. She's great. She'll be in the studio. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, too.
He is a good guy.
As much as I joke around that he rides buffaloes around, he doesn't have a real car and stuff.
That was funny.
It's probably true, but...
Yeah, he could ride a buffalo if he wanted to. I mean, you know, he really made life really a lot easier for us in those first couple weeks.
He seems like he's got that kind of, like, father figure, even, you know, I don't know how old he is, but he seems like he's like one of those dad, he'll take care of everyone, you know.
Yeah, he's just like a survival guy. You know what I mean? Like he's done everything. He had so many amazing stories, and he would be like bored and he'd just build things, and he'd just like put things together, and he did like a fly swatter from like a stick and a piece of leather and put some whatever around. He made a hammock, and
because the fly swatter is what you really need.
Oh, we did. There's flies all over our poo. Yeah, in those holes that were stopped up and in our bucket of poo and pee.
Oh my God.
There was flies on that, and then there'd be flies all over our food. Because, it was like, had foodborne illness written all over it.
Wait, did you get to take your outfit home? That's what I want to know.
No, we didn't get to take anything. Really? I was like, I looked at these sandals, and I'm like, I would probably wear these sandals in everyday life, and don't I give it a memento of some kind? You know, my sandals are scratched up, and who else is going to wear these? And they're like, no, you don't get anything.
I was going to ask you to come in tonight with the whole get-up on.
Oh, I wish.
That would have been great.
It would have been funny. I actually would have worn it as like a, you know, Halloween outfit or something. Sam and Lauren and I talked about doing like a pub crawl in all of our
You should. Let me know. I'm there.
Because we actually all live in the same area in California.
Nice.
Yeah, just by chance.
So there's a lot of you guys out here. That's cool. That's good. So now Frank went over to the other side. And he's adjusting, and the greatest thing about the show is that you guys can see each other through this glass wall. So do you think that he's adjusting well? Do you think that he is playing a game? Like, who do you think he's going to... My whole thing is Frank going to stick with this team, or is he going to stick to his alliance with you guys? You know
I think Frank...
Or, excuse me, with the other...
I think Frank is, he's going to, you know, get along with the team, for sure.
He's pretty easy going.
He's going to do whatever he can to try to stay in the game. You know, whatever he has to say, whatever he has to do, he's going to try to stay on that team. And he is quite a force to be reckoned with and to win those worldly challenges. So they might keep him around for longer than we think.
Yeah, and I think if he sticks with Jesse, I think that would be his smartest decision.
Yeah.
I think that the Jesse Frank, you know, relationship, I think that's pretty strong because you got like strength, and Jesse's smart.
Jesse's giving him, Jesse's smart, and he's giving him, like, you know, kind of tips from the other side of how to stay in.
Stick with JR, get on his side.
After watching the episode tonight, it seems like he's feeding him ideas that he maybe didn't have on his own. So,
I think that would be smart for him to stick with that.
Yeah, he should keep that going. But I do think they're going to put them up against each other.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I think that our Team Epoch is definitely going to put Frank and Jency. It would be a great show, and I think that they think it's cool either way, you know? We'll see. I mean, I think that because of what happened with Charles and everything, I'm sure everybody's over it now, and Jesse did not mean for that to happen. But there's still a little something, you know.
That was one of my questions.
We want to avenge Charles a bit, you know what I mean? And so they might be targeting Jesse in that way.
Now, what is your, I mean, you can give whatever answer you want, or you could say the politically correct answer, but are you a fan of Jesse? Do you know?
I was not at first, I'll be honest. I really felt like he was playing like a dirty dog. There were 2 rules that we had in that first competition. One, you're supposed to stay inside your safe box. Once your foot goes over the line, then it's like fair game. But that was, and he didn't, you know, he saw his foot go over the line, and that's why he jumped. The second rule, though, was that you had to make sure that the person has their bar there with the tasers on the end, and that they're braced and ready to go. Basically, both people running up the ramp was just getting there. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a race or whatever. You got up, both people were supposed to be braced and ready, and then you go. So that was the part that he didn't. I think it was a mistake, though. But at first, for sure, we were not a fan. I mean, seeing that break, it was a compound break. His foot was going the wrong direction. It was not cool. I've never actually seen anything like that in my life. It was very disturbing. And then I had to go up next, where I went to go up next because
I was going to say, you were up next?
Yeah, Lauren wasn't even, she was thinking she wasn't even going to go in. She was like, I think I might quit. And I was like, we were just like, you know, chill out, think about it, and I'll go. You know?
You guys literally saw that in action.
Yeah, it was right in front of our face. You know, he fell off, and it was just like we were watching him just standing there, and it was rough. So, that definitely made me not a fan of Jesse for a while. Plus, he's just an interesting cat, right? He was like, you know, they wanted a jump rope, so he was like making a jump rope out of T-shirts and tape, and then he was like putting stuff on his feet, and he was always looking at us, and it seemed like he was like, he was a little strange. He made us easy to pick on him a little bit, you know what I mean? And but no, I think that after seeing him play the game and the way that he's kind of turned around, I think that actually he is trying to play a game with integrity and maybe authentic to himself, and he actually is not such a bad guy. And he wrote this big apology letter for the Charles thing. He put it on a tablet and showed us.
Oh, wow, I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, so I definitely think that, you know, because other characters have come out and now I've seen how other people are playing the game, Jesse's more of a favorite.
I was going to say, once I see Mercy, and then I see Jeffrey, and then I'm like, whoa, Jesse's really not that bad.
Yeah, and even JR, like, from the very beginning. I mean, you know, he's so likable, but he's so likable, but he's playing a different game than, you know, he's playing a different game.
Everybody plays,
and so everybody has their favorites, and so.
That's interesting. It's cool to get your point on that, too. Yeah. So now we have, you know, we get our favorites and we get our least favorite. It's the first time, I think, that they're both on the same team. We have America's favorite was Jesse, which I was a little surprised by because he's been so low in the ratings, and, you know, the least, you know.
I know why, I think.
Okay, and then we got the least favorite, Jeffrey. Yeah. Which every week that this happens, it makes me very excited because I'm not a fan of Jeffrey. But wait, why do you think that Jesse was the favorite this week?
Because he was the one that really wanted to go to the past. And so he was trying to talk his whole team into going over the past, giving us a break, and also letting them kind of show. He did make a really good point when he said, you know, what are we worth if, you know, we don't go over there and at least try it out and see, you know, how we fend for on that side or whatever. So that's a very good point. He's going to win points with America that way, and he did. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's just so unfair, and it's boring, like you were saying. You know, if we just always stay on two different sides, it just takes the fun out of it. So I think that's why he won the popularity.
Do you feel like that is genuine, or do you feel like that is just kind of like, I know what America's looking at, let me make sure I'm doing the right thing?
I'm sure part of it was strategic, but I actually do think it was genuine. Because like I said, he's the one making jump ropes out of things and making, you know, using towels to put stuff on his feet to make Uggs and this and that. So yeah, I do think that he thought that it was a bit of a challenge, and he even said to someone, you know, it looks like a big old Pinterest project over there or something. Funny. So I think he wanted to have his time.
And I think he's pretty genuine. I mean, I didn't tell you this, but Jesse's actually my cousin.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just kidding. this is supposed to be. I've never even met the guy.
What?
I am Team Jesse, but I haven't met him. He is not my cousin.
Okay.
But the hairstyles are a little similar. I saw one weekend his hair like to the side and everything.
Yeah, he likes to do a lot of funny things. Like,
Yeah.
you know, in this episode, just saw that he had mud all over his face.
I saw that, yeah.
He's an interesting cat. That is for sure.
Hey, he's an individual.
Yeah.
You don't make it on these shows and not be an individual.
That's true.
So now we get, Jesse gets to hang out with one person from the team, and he chooses Frank, which I think is smart strategically, because I think that Jesse and Frank need to stick together and keep that alliance going.
Yep.
Do you think, you know, that was obviously a smart decision? Or?
I do. Okay. And I also think that it keeps, you know, Team Epoch guessing about, you know, Frank. And so
exactly.
It's, from both sides, you know, I think that that was the best decision by far.
Yeah. And could it get any better that Jeff Rye has to sit isolated for a whole, I think it was a whole night, right?
Poor guy.
It's raining.
It's cold out there.
It was like a movie. Like, he was like by the glass and it's like raining. It was like one of those like 90s like romantic movies.
Yeah.
But hey,
well, I mean, maybe it'll start to make sense to him that the game he's playing people don't love. You know what I mean? I mean, he might get himself, you know, we'll see what happens with that, how far along he gets because of the game he's playing.
He's starting to realize that maybe I'm not playing the smart game. You know, there's people in here that are smarter than me, and I think they're on to me. You know?
Well, I mean, the first day when he said my team is stupid, I mean, I don't even see why you would say that.
Can't believe it.
You can get JR to make an alliance with you without saying that. You know what I mean? I mean, America's going to hear you. It's just like...
I don't know if he just wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be, you know, when the first episode acts, he wants to get some spotlight, but I wasn't feeling that. And then he comes back, so we get Jeff Rye back, and then he speaks to Jesse, and he tells Jesse basically, you know, if you go against JR, you're not going to win. Why in your right mind? Does that sound smart?
I mean, don't know why he said that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of common sense. If somebody's already in the protected seat, they have a choice. They can, you know, have your head in a sling or whatever, and you say negative things to them. It's like,
not smart.
What is wrong with you, dude?
It's like me walking into work tomorrow and being like, they're like, go do some x-rays. I'm like, yeah, I'll do what I want. And if you, it's not smart. They're in charge. They're running it right now.
Yeah.
When you're the protected, you can say what you want, but not smart, buddy. Not smart.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, you know, Jeff Rye isn't, I think he's intelligent. I think that he's just not maybe using his intelligence. I think he's trying to be too sneaky.
I think he's being really, really sneaky.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to interchange strategy and sneaky. You know what I mean? And he's definitely getting the sneaky part, but that wasn't smart. That wasn't smart.
Wasn't strategic.
It wasn't. So who knows? Maybe he's trying to infect his team with like a little bit of doubt or something like that.
Maybe
but either way, I don't think it's going to pay off for him.
Yeah. So then we got that whole situation. Then we have Danielle crying again because she's in the past and she doesn't like it. And obviously you're not going to feel bad for her because this is something you had to deal with.
No,
So,
I mean the first week is the hardest because it's such a shock.
Adjusting.
You know, but
do you think it's harder for them because you came from civilization where, you know, things are good, but they came from like overly good, maybe like where their toilet seat warmers? Does it make it more tough to go into the past, or is it just basically...
I mean, maybe it makes it a little bit more tough, but either way, it's just tough. You know what I mean? I think that people don't understand it. It is, you know, it's rough in all these different ways, but it also really affects you mentally. Yeah. So you see, you know, how much mental strength people have against all these elements and all these things because you never get refreshed. You never like, you know, it just really kind of wears on you. So I think...
Because you don't go outside.
No, you can't go outside. It's kind of like the difference between being... well, you learn what it's like a little bit to be like a bum or homeless. Okay. And like, you know, not smell good and have like, you know, all kinds of hair on your body that you've never seen.
That's just called being Italian.
No, but like, oh no.
Sweaty forehead, hair everywhere.
But think about that for 20 days, you know, stink on top of stink on top of stink, you know what I mean? No, I know. And then never being able to like just have a break from these things. And yeah, I think it wears you down mentally and people's true colors really show. Yeah,
that's the thing. People's true colors really show. And that's when you get some friction in the teams.
Yeah.
So then we end that episode finding out who was protected. They protected JR because his foot, you know, he sprained his ankle. And then Kronos, we choose Jesse. So, you know, I think JR being protected is a good thing because you want to help him. You don't want to hurt him, you know, in the competitions. But was that something that you would have chose if you were still there? Would you have went with that decision?
I mean, if I had to. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
I feel like the girls...
You know what? It's a decision by the majority, and we always have to remember it's the majority. So JR, Lauren, and Sam are the majority. And they're doing that because they're going to keep that safe. You know what I mean? They've had an alliance from the very beginning, those three. So every decision they make as a team is all those three. I'm sure Steve didn't want to go in. I'm sure it doesn't matter what Frank and Steve think at this point. Yeah. So the only way around it is to try to break up those three. And so I'm sure Steve and Frank will be trying to do that as much as possible.
So if you were there now, would you have tried to get maybe an alliance with Frank and Steve and try to break that?
Absolutely. That's the only way that that's going to break that down. Yeah.
Because I think eventually, in my opinion, that JR doesn't stand a chance if it comes down to it. Those girls are going to get rid of him. I think they're the closest.
I think that Lauren's in a good spot. She has an alliance with JR and she has an alliance with Sam. And, you know, depending on which way it goes, she'll choose to go for whoever is going to be best for her at the time. Yeah. You know, she's going to play that game.
She's smart.
She's in a really good spot right now to be the winner.
She couldn't be in a better spot.
Unless Frank or Steve are able to pull somebody away and get her out.
It could happen.
Yeah, it's possible.
But you can tell she knows she's good right now just by watching.
Yeah,
She's pretty much settled. She's calm. She's like, yeah, whatever happens. So that is our episode 1. Now, if you want to speak to Angela, you want to tweet about the show, Angela, where can we find you on social media?
So you can find me on Twitter at I'm Angela L. And then Facebook at I'm Angela Lima. So it's spelled I-M, not I-A-M. So I-M-A-N-G-E-L-A-L.
Okay.
And then I'm Angela Lima.
Awesome. And you can find me at Mikey Benzaia on Facebook and at Mikey Benzaia on Twitter, which is M-I-K-E-Y-B-E-N-Z-A-I-A. So as you guys know, Jesse and JR are protected now. We have JR protected, I think, because his ankle sprain from running around, and Jesse protected on the opposite team. So like we discussed before, Angela, you feel like this was a smart decision, something that, you know, will help them or benefit them in the future?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's going to help the alliance, so.
Yeah, well, which we have discussed in detail. So I'm loving that. That alliance is good. So now we have basically the strategy to take Danielle out is something that was thrown around. Jesse feels Frank will work for them. So we got a couple different things going on. There's you know, you got to, with these episodes, you got to kind of like really pay attention because there's a couple different alliances forming. I don't know where to throw Steve in there. I feel like he's kind of like a rat. I don't know, you know, you spent some time with Steve. Do you feel like he can be trusted? You know, what's your opinion on that?
Steve, from the very beginning, is playing a very strategic game.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing whatever it takes to, you know, just try to stay in. And he actually did that the first week. He did that very successfully with the whole Wyatt thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't really trust Steve because I don't think that he would even think that he should be trusted, you know?
Yeah.
I think he's doing whatever he can. And he's going to try to, I'm sure, work really hard on any different alliance. But I have to say, in this game, size does matter. He's the smaller guy. He's the newer guy. That's going to probably have him out.
But he's got that Quidditch. I don't know.
He does. You know what? That's actually a little something. And I think that's why he ended up winning against Danielle in this competition. Yeah. So that is, you know, something. But I think compared to Frank and then JR has the alliance, he's definitely going to be one of the next ones out. I think they might keep on putting him back in.
Well, like you said, with these competition series, that alliance is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
What threw me for a loop is that JR goes over and talks to the girls. He talks to Lauren and Sam, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you guys know that there's a little chatter, that you guys have this really strong alliance.
Yeah.
Do you think that was, you know, something that he should have done, or should he have left that?
Yeah, he's saying that to Lauren because he wants Lauren to be like, oh no, you know, we got you, and I'm with you, and
is he looking for validation?
Yeah, he's definitely looking for validation, and with Lauren only. I mean, who knows about, you know, if he said that to Sam, but then Lauren has to play that, so she knows she's kind of in the middle of those things, you know.
And that's why she might have threw out Steve's name. I think that's the smartest decision on her part. Keep everything away from us. Let's get Steve in there.
Yeah, and I think they would have thrown out Steve's name regardless.
You think
know?
So?
Yeah, just anybody that's not them. Any one of those three. You know, that's one thing about the game is like they ask who you respect and this and that. And, you know, somebody sometimes who's not so afraid of getting in the duel and actually doing a challenge, you know, like Steve will try to stay out of it as much as he can. And JR will too. And I mean, you know, so I guess it's part of the strategy. But sometimes you got to take one for the team and get in there, you know?
Yeah, what you did?
Yeah. I did the first time, was happy about it. Second time, not so happy about it.
I know, I saw that when they asked you, they're like, and Angela, we're deciding on you. And you're like, I mean, what are you going to say?
I was like, yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's two ways to handle it. I could go off, and it could be like, well, I don't think this is a good decision, but they already made it. So.
And then the bottom line is, if you do that as a teammate, I'm like, oh, you don't have our team's back, when really it's not fair that you even put your back against the wall, you know?
Yeah,
so it kind of puts you in a shitty situation.
Well, that, and you have to go in like, okay, if I'm going to be the one chosen, then I'm just going to try to like have positive, you know, kind of thoughts toward it and just manifest a win. And I really was trying to do that, you know? I had to like meditate and see if going against Frank felt like the right thing as opposed to Mercy, which would have been the safer and maybe smarter decision, but I wanted to make bold decisions, and that's really what came to me. Yeah. So I had to go with it.
Go with what your gut feels. But do you think that if you did make that smart decision, the opposite decision, you think they would have left you alone, or?
With Mercy, maybe they wouldn't have left me alone. Okay. Maybe I'd be like Steve now, and they just keep on putting me in.
And you don't want to be that, you know.
And I didn't want to be that. Yeah, exactly.
Go hard, and then, you know, deal with the consequences.
Go big or go home.
Yeah,
that was my motto going in, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, so we're gonna have you here every week because you're awesome. You're pretty down there.
Thank you.
So now Jeffrey comes back, like we discussed before, Jeff Fry, and he tells Jesse, the guy who's in charge, like, why would you do this? That you're not gonna win against JR. You know, JR and Jesse, they're not.
And he was like, I feel like I should have been the protected, and I mean the choice.
What world is he living in?
The decision's already made. At that point, you just got to play it up. You know what I mean? And he's just making himself more of an enemy to his own team. So it's really strange.
I don't think it was smart. I don't know what he's doing. What kind of game Jeff Fry is? Maybe we'll figure it out.
It might have been a weak point. I don't know if that was really strategically smart in any way, shape, or form. You know.
So now they call them out to the present, which is great because they get out of this house. And you know, you have JR, who we found out earlier, but he's an attorney. So I think he's trying to use his lawyer skills to kind of get into people's heads. Sure. Do you think that is something that he's been doing all along? Have you seen that?
I think that it was, you know, all of us talk strategy together about what we should ask. So I think, you know, maybe they had a conversation about that beforehand. And as the game goes on, you have to get more and more tricky about the questions because it's not just like, who are you, where are you from, da-da-da. I mean, we're starting to get to know each other on both sides. So, of course, it's time for the harder questions, you know. And there's going to be some more mind play. There's going to be like trying to ask somebody something and make them flip on this and that, or make them doubt themselves, or there's a lot of different ways to do it. So I think it's just part of the game that the strategy comes in. But I'm sure it doesn't hurt at all that JR is an attorney and he's done this before.
And then how do you know, on your end, how do you know if he's not playing you guys?
Oh, I think that they absolutely are. You know what I mean? Like within the team, you know, that was the first thing that happened with Wyatt. You know, as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, okay, from the very get-go, everybody's playing on each other. Even though we kind of said, a couple of us kind of just wanted to like not pick on each other at the beginning and really focus on integrity. Yeah, exactly, until we really had to. You know, but yeah, from the very beginning, and now seeing that episode when he made that alliance with Jeffrey in the first night, it's obvious that he's been playing that really strategic game and doing whatever he needs to do from the get-go and being kind of sneaky.
So day one, when they called and they were like, hey, you're going to the show, were you like, I'm going to play fair until I have to not play fair, or was it kind of like...
I just thought that no matter what I do, I have to be proud of my own decisions, and I have to live with myself and my own decisions afterwards. So if it came down to it, I mean, I thought, really, if you're going to win, someone's got to get lied to. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
It's the game.
But before that, I really wanted to infuse my team with positivity. I wanted to keep, you know, centered and whatever. That's why I wanted to do the yoga. That's why I wanted to do all these things. And I just wanted to make sure that I was working with integrity for myself, you know, whatever I thought was the best way to go. And so I didn't really have any strict rules like that, but I knew in general how I wanted to play the game. And,
At the end of the day, you wanted to be happy with the decisions you made and be able to watch yourself and be like, all right, you know, maybe I didn't win, but I did the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I respect that. That's a good way to play.
I did want to win. I thought that maybe going that path would actually help me win too, you know?
Well, you know, maybe, you know.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I talked to Wyatt, and if Charles wouldn't have gone out that first time...
He was a strong... I think Charles was a strong competitor.
But Charles, Wyatt, and I think, would have formed an alliance. And then we would have had 3 and 3. You know what I mean? We were a little bit older, all of us, and I think we wanted to play a cleaner game from the very beginning. So I think we would have had more power. If Charles wouldn't have got out, I think that me playing my way would have taken me farther.
Isn't it crazy? Because I think Wyatt was on the same game plan as you.
Absolutely.
And one situation can throw off the whole dynamic of the team.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think you guys were the honest side of it, and now we have the not that they're not honest, but they're more strategic game playing, lying. You know, they're playing the game. But that would have been interesting to see how that would have went. So now, talking about playing the game, doesn't get any more dramatic than Jeff Fry. Jeff Fry walks straight up in the present and tells him basically, just fight with me, JR. All I need you to do is just fight, and I'll cry. And I was like, that caught me off guard. And
I mean,
was it necessary? You know,
I guess it was a strategy. It was a sneaky strategy. I'm sure nobody believed it. You know, I mean, if they did, I just don't think they would have. You know,
it was no,
it's just
Academy Award-winning performance.
Yeah, just more sneakery. You know, I mean, maybe JR's side believes it a little bit, but I don't think Jeff. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think they were that fazed by it. I think they were just looking like, all right, what's going on? It really doesn't even matter.
They're making a big show. They're making a big show.
I don't know what Jeffrey's doing, but JR seems to be on board with him. I don't know why, out of all the people to choose.
Yeah, actually, now thinking about it, maybe those girls do trust JR, and they do maybe think that, you know, he was really fighting with them. On the other hand, maybe they'll start seeing through it and seeing that, you know, the alliance has been brought up once by Danielle, actually.
Yes,
when we
she's the one who called it out.
Yeah, in front of all of us, and he was like, what is she talking about? She was trying to say this, da-da-da-da, and then talked a bunch of crap about her. So, and tried to, you know. So, yeah, maybe the girls will start seeing through it and see that there actually is something going on like that.
And look where she ended up, Danielle. See, you call someone out, and then bam.
Yeah.
But so now we have, you know, and this is the thing I was going to ask you too. We spoke about Jesse last episode, that he does some weird things. He, you know, he wears weird things. He makes jump rope out of clothes. He had dirt on his face. What was the reason behind that? I mean, I know you weren't there, but what is it to get into his psyche?
I think he just likes to set himself apart, and you know, he's a different cat, you know, and I think he just likes to. I think maybe he gets bored and he just starts doing funny things. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's entertaining.
Was he the most like odd character on your team? Was he?
Oh, Jesse was on the other team. But yeah, yes, he was definitely the most odd character on both teams.
Yeah. I meant to ask you, did you guys have like an odd character on your team? Was it?
I mean, Wyatt, I guess, of all of us, was probably a little bit more. He was just more different, and he was always into something. And the same thing, whenever he got bored, he just had to be doing something, you know? Yeah. So, but that was good.
Yeah, he's a cool cat.
Yeah.
I like Wyatt. So now, you know, we have Danielle crying again. JR is chosen, and we have, they send in Steve versus Danielle. Do you think that was a smart decision to get Steve in there? Is this going to be every week? And then on the other end, Danielle, who I happen to be a fan of. I think she plays with integrity, and I think she's an athletic girl too. I mean, you think I think she played some sports and everything. She's a pretty.
She's a personal trainer.
I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was a smart decision. You think the two of them together?
Yeah, I think that, you know, she could pose a physical threat, and I think also JR probably had his own reasons for doing that. And yeah, I think you have to start picking off the girls. It's really kind of getting down to the wire with the guys. So you have to kind of even things out. I also think that she might have been the heart of the team a little bit, you know, like they all love her, and so it might have been a mental thing too. But yeah, I think it was good. You know, they wanted to put Steve in, and so they did that against her.
There was no getting around that. I think even when we were watching it, you were like, Steve's going in, Steve's going in. I'm like, really?
Other than that, it would have been Jeffrey. So, you know, it's interesting that they didn't put Jeffrey, but then again, it was JR, you know, that was choosing.
That's why.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, I think eventually JR will throw Jeffrey in. I think that it will come to the day where he's just like, because what does Jeffrey really serve for him besides giving information from the other side? But really, now Frank, you know, it's
just all what the team, you know, says as a group. You know what I mean? If everybody was really wanting Jeffrey, he'd have to go against him, but he can try to just sway people other ways. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of people to pick on right now still.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's early on still. We still have a lot going on, you know?
Yeah.
So, but now living in that environment and coming back, you know, I know when I left my show, coming back into the real world, as we per se, how difficult is that? Is that something that, you know, did you think it was going to be that hard?
It's different. I mean, it definitely is different. It takes some adjustment, you know, and even the night that I got off or whatever, we were taken to like a hotel by the airport just to have somewhere to sleep so I could take a flight out the next day. And there was like a therapist there like waiting to do an exit interview.
And like, are you okay?
Yeah, they were like, we need your clothes back. And I was like, really? What? And they're like, okay, so just, you know, and the therapist was waiting. So she's like, well, you can just take a shower. I was like, I'm not changing out of these clothes and into my clean clothes without taking a shower after 21 days.
Yeah.
So my first shower was like not a long, beautiful shower. It was like a quick shower.
They rushed you on your first shower?
Kinda, because she was sitting there waiting and everything.
Oh, no.
So I had to like, you know, it wasn't as sweet as I was thinking it was going to be, you know? And then of course you're thinking, oh, if I would have done this differently, if I would have done that, but you can't do that much, you know? You have to kind of stick with your decisions. But yeah, it's been an adjustment. I mean, I think just being in the cave, that experience alone is just like, it's really made me feel so much gratitude for what we do have, and you know, food tastes sweeter, and freedom to do whatever you want. Like, it was really like kind of prison, because we didn't have the choice to do whatever we wanted to do. We couldn't go outside and run. We couldn't, you know, that kind of thing. So everything is sweeter now, and I'm so much more thankful for what I do have. So in that way, it's been a great experience. But yeah, it's like a different world that you lived in for a while, and just to come back to reality, it takes a little adjustment.
It's like a mini vacation, but not really a good
in
vacation.
A different reality, basically.
But it's interesting because I think that, you know, I don't know how you are in regular life, but do you take like the best out of everything? Because you seem pretty upbeat. You know, some people will be like, "Oh, it's terrible. I can't believe I spent 21 days in a cave." Yeah. But you're like, you know, you always learn from experiences.
Totally.
You try to.
That's good. And I was all about that. Like, I wanted to do this, and I wanted to go with this experience to see what I'm made of, you know, and to challenge myself, and mentally and physically. And I work really hard at keeping a positive attitude. I do like a lot of reading, you know, and for, you know, personal growth and things like that. And I always have. So that's always with me, and I've come a long way. Yeah. And so I think that did help me keep a positive attitude.
I wish that Charles maybe would have stayed around, and we would have saw you, Wyatt, and Charles kind of building the lines. Yeah. Because it would have been pretty interesting to see where you guys were.
It would have been really cool. I'd love to see another show with us at the back.
Bring him back.
I know, right?
Yeah, Wyatt. We spoke to Wyatt last week. He's a good guy. He's a good character. But
he's great, and Charles is great. I mean, that first night, you know, we were so freezing, and we just stayed up and like tending the fire or whatever, because it was literally like 30 degrees.
It's literally that cold?
It's so cold. It's so cold there.
So if the fire's out, you guys are freezing?
Oh yeah, we had to keep it going the whole time, and raging, you know, and even all night long, like we'd wake up like 7 times, you know, or like we'd take different shifts. Somebody would get the most cold and then wake up, but like a lot of times it was me or Wyatt, you know, so you just never get a full night's sleep, you know. So yeah, but the first night I was talking to Charles for a long time, and just like heard a lot about his history and his time in the military and everything, and just felt how good of a guy he was. So I do think that that 3-person alliance would have been really strong and totally changed the game.
I think that your team got to know each other at start of the gate a little better than the other team, because you had to deal with all this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We had obstacles, and we had time in the cave. You know, we had to stay in that cave. We originally tried to sleep outside, and then realized real quickly there's nowhere other than the fire that we could ever really be for a long period of time, especially at night. So that cave, we were in there all the time, and we told stories.
Cuddle sessions.
Yeah, I mean, everyone had lots of different things to say, and you know, really cool perspectives. So we just had a lot of talking to do, and really learning about each other. So it was really cool. Everyone in there is a good person. I really do believe that everyone on both sides are good people. They're just choosing to play the game differently.
Well, that's the thing. They're good people, but when you're put in situations, then you realize, you know, what you got to do. And it is, the bottom line is, like, you know, even with my show and what James says too, it is a game. And eventually, when it comes down to it, you have to play the game. The game isn't going to just let you, you know, just scoot by. There's going to be, you're going to make choices and decisions. People's feelings are going to be hurt. Right. And sometimes those choices you make are not, you know, the best. But if you want to, you go into this wanting to win. I mean, you didn't go there going like, oh, I'll just go. You want to win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's tough. It definitely judges your character. But wow, some of them very early on. So I was surprised. So now we get Danielle's crying. JR's chosen. Steve versus Danielle. Basically, Danielle goes home and Steve wins, which I have to be honest, as soon as they mentioned that it was going to be Steve and Danielle, I was really surprised. I thought Danielle was going to win. Yeah. I don't know why. I guess physically, maybe.
Well, I mean, Steve is actually pretty strong. Is he? Okay. I mean, his mom's a personal trainer, so they, they had that in common. And I think Quidditch, even though it sounds like kind of like Harry Potter game, whatever, I think it's actually quite a bit like rugby and some other sports that actually take a lot of quickness and agility and all that. And he's one of the top in his area or whatever. So I think that he's actually got something to offer there. He is the smallest, so if it came to like that kind of strength thing, but I think that he's got something. Plus, I think that the challenge was, you know, it was something that anyone could have really done. It might have had a little bit of a luck element. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like...
I was going to say, because all the competitions up till now were so different than this one. Now, to explain the competition, basically what they had to do was they had to get this ring across. They had to, like, you know, in detail...
Is 2 spurs on a rope through basically obstacles. Okay. So it was just kind of moving quickly and then getting it through these obstacles. And, you know, I'm sure it was very cold out there. And it was just probably like focus and like, keeping attention and then just really making sure you're doing things quickly. So I think it really could have been both of them that could have won. won. It was probably a pretty fair match.
It wasn't
there.
Like a competition where I'd be like, Frank's got this. It was kind of
Oh,
like
I wish I was in that one. You know what I mean? Or the puzzle one. I would have killed it.
I feel like the puzzle one you could have took down.
Yeah,
also,
I think so too. Well, and it's so funny. It's like, why weren't these earlier on in the competition? You know, instead of the really strength. Well, anyways, what can you do?
It's weird how they set that up. It's kind of like, I don't know. They were like,
maybe they had so many injuries. They're like, okay.
They were like, let's take it easy before we don't have a cast. Because,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the main thing. Like I was telling James, I was like, this is like when people play Superman and they like get hurt. All the actors that play Superman, you guys like have been through a lot as a cast.
I think that part of it had to do with the cold. You know,
definitely.
it's just so cold out there, and so your body might not be connecting the way that it does, and things are brittle or whatever. And then for our side, of course, we're just not fed and just slow.
Well,
and then even the mental thing, like, you know, with the food that we're eating a lot of carbs. Oh, I did want to say something. I watched the episode with Rachel, and she was like,
she's great.
Oh, she was, and she is great, and I totally like her, and we've talked, and we've like kind of chatted back and forth, but she was like, oh, she's a strict vegan. And I'm not a strict vegan, actually. She said, like, the water wasn't as cold for me or something like that. And
wait, I don't know about that.
It's actually online. I think they made a mistake because I work for a vegan, gluten-free snack food company. But I think they had a little misunderstanding. So I just wanted to say.
Yeah, so let's clarify that.
I just braved that cold water, but it wasn't because of the vegan aspect.
We might have to set up a competition out here. We'll have you guys like go set a whole thing up and see.
She was great. It was awesome, and it was.
She's good people.
It was as brutal as she said. You know what I mean? I just but and I am mostly, so maybe that does help a little bit. You know? I really love cheese. It's hard to give up cheese. But,
I was gonna say I just had like a big burger with cheese 5 minutes ago, so I can't even say that I should try and eat a little more healthier. But yeah, so that's clarified, Rachel. But
so funny.
That was cool to have her in the studio. So she's got a good personality. She's upbeat.
Yeah, she's great for sure.
Yeah. So that's cool. So now we have. Did we get our protected, or excuse me, our favorite and our least favorite for the week? Mm-hmm. Which any surprises with that?
So the favorite was Lauren.
Yes. And
the least favorite was Jeffrey.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so. I mean, with that comment to Jesse, you know, when he was he's kind of keeping himself down there. Yeah. You know, and maybe that's even part of his strategy. I don't know. I mean,
I guess we'll find out as the episodes go further.
Maybe he thinks he's not as much of a threat, you know, if he's always in the bottom. I just don't know.
I don't know, but America has such a big hold on this game, so I don't think it's smart.
They do, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, they do a little bit, but still the decisions that are made are within the group. Yeah. You know, they can give you a reward or a punishment, and they can maybe sway the people's decision, you know, the group's decision. Yeah. But if they think Jeffrey's so bad and America really doesn't like him, it kind of makes sense to keep him around if they ever had to go head-to-head with him. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it goes both ways. You know, there's a lot, like somebody said, there's a lot of different layers to this game. There's a lot of different ways to play it.
Yeah. With my game, it was it was just one way. You just make sure that your team, you know, has a strategy and that's it. But like with this, it's like you got America, you have who's the favorite, you know, least favorite, you got don't piss off your own team, then you got the other team, and then you got these twists where like I'm stealing this person from this team, bringing it to my team. Like I didn't see that coming this week. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens in the following weeks. I think that you know, I'm happy, number one, with this week. This week brought me back into the game, and
I think it got a lot more interesting for everyone. It was a little tough for me seeing my team go over to the future, and I was like, oh, I wanted that. I
apologize that happened as soon as you.
It is what it is. A little tough, but I'm so happy for them. Yeah. I am so happy for them, and I could just feel the excitement, you know, and they're in the hot tub, and they're just like, yeah.
Well, look where you are. You're hanging out here. You know, we'll get you back in here. You'll get to meet James. You're chilling with us, and that's it.
Yeah, for sure.
But Angela, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was great to get your perspective on things and recapping the show for us. So once again, Angela, where can we find you on social media?
So on Twitter at I'm Angela L, and then Facebook I'm Angela Lima.
Lima, like the model? I don't know, relation?
We're both Brazilian.
Are you?
So I think it's a common Brazilian name.
Okay, that's a whole other conversation.
Adriana Lima.
Yes, yeah. We'll talk about that off air. I'm curious to see. But you can find me at Mikey Benzaia, MikeyBenzaia on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you guys for tuning in. Much appreciated. James will be back next week with me, and we got some surprises for you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.